What's turning into a thrilling season of the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship arrives at Donington Park for their third race event of the season. Round number 8 of the championship incoming, the second of 3 races here this weekend, underneath a ever-darkening sky, actually, here at Donington Park. The temperature is high, but the threat of rain seems to be looming over us. Let's hope we can get this race in before any rain does start to fall. It's been a fantastic start to the season for British Formula 3 this year. Some really excellent racing, another really high-quality grid of drivers, and the race yesterday really did sort of typify the close and competitive nature of the series. It was a race that was won by Zach O'Sullivan to extend what was a fairly slender championship lead over Rhys Ushijima, who finished second place, so only 6 points the gap now. 6 points extra scored by Zach O'Sullivan. The gap between them goes up to 12 points in the championship. There is confirmation of the fact that it is warm here today. 30 degrees near enough, the track temperature. That's going to have an effect on tyres, and notice there that Zach O'Sullivan, as he pulled up on pole position, has 2 fresh sticker tyres. The teams are limited on the amount of tyres they can use over the course of the weekend, and so they'll almost always have to run worn tyres that have maybe done a race distance at one point or another throughout the weekend. But at which point you choose to bolt on those new tyres is entirely up to the team, and it looks as though the majority of the field have gone for 2 fresh tyres, usually on the left-hand side around this clockwise circuit, to try and give the drivers a bit of extra grip. They may well need it as well if it does get a bit greasy out there. Green flag lap then gets underway. Zach O'Sullivan, winner yesterday, is back on pole position again today for this second race, so looking to try and capitalise on that, especially given the fact that Rhys Ushijima is only 3rd on the grid. They're separated by Alex Connor, who has crept up into 3rd place in the championship now, but is nearly 80 points off the championship lead. So Alex Connor in the Arden Motorsport car there, 2nd on the grid, the red and white car, could really do with beating O'Sullivan if he can in this race. O'Sullivan then for Carlin on pole with Arden's Alex Connor alongside him. It's High-Tech GP's Rhys Ushijima 3rd, and Javier Segura for Elite Motorsport 4th on the grid, making it 4 different teams across those first 2 rows. Bart Horston, the Aussie, is 5th, Roberto Faria 6th, but he had a jump start yesterday and dropped right to the back of the field. Roman Belinsky makes his British Formula 3 debut ahead of Christian Mansell in another one of the Carlin machines. Then it's Tom Leben for Elite and Dexter Patterson for Douglas, who was not in the stewards' good books after Silverstone last time out. Sebastian Alvarez and Bryce Aaron are on the 6th row. Bryce had an unfortunate collision with Max Marzarati at Silverstone last time, which robbed him of the chance to challenge for a podium in the reverse grid race. Ayrton Simmons in the Chris Dittman racing car is next, and we'll get into Ayrton's real yo-yo season in a moment or two. It's another slightly off weekend though for the Chris Dittman racing driver. Jose Garfias is next for Elite Motorsport on that 7th row. Max Marzarati is 15th on the grid ahead of Mikael Grundvig. They've had some good battles this year, including yesterday, with Rima Jafali for Douglas Motorsport rounding out the field. So yeah, Ayrton Simmons, 13th on the grid. It's hard to believe that's the man that won the opening race of the season at a canter, but then had a non-finish in race 2 when he should really have been up there fighting for the victory again. And then at Silverstone last time out, just didn't have the pace. He qualified badly, he ran midfield for the first 2 races, won the reversed grid race, but only just because Alex Connor and Roberto Faria were really pressurising him towards the end of that race. And Ayrton Simmons again now has arrived at Donington a little way off the pace. It's just been a strange season for a driver that we know to be really quick and we know to be good enough to win races and fight for the championship, but for whatever reason, some underlying issue is keeping Ayrton from consistently being at the front of the field, and it is now sort of developing into the O'Sullivan and Ushijima show. As I said, Connor, who's 2nd on the grid for this one, is 3rd in the points, but some way back from the top 2. So it's O'Sullivan on the left then. Alex Connor alongside him. As the green flag flies, the red lights go on, and we are racing in round number 8 of the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship. Good start made from pole position there by Zach O'Sullivan. He'll hold the advantage into Redgate Corner. Line astern for the top 4, side by side though now as Connor pulls to the outside line. But that might be a mistake because Ushijima was up the inside immediately for 2nd place. But they come off the corner still with the Arden car ahead. One of the Chris Dittman cars was in the grass there coming out of Redgate, but just about got away with it as the leaders head down through the Craner curves for the opening time, and Alex Connor again attacking and defending at the same time. Bart Horston, by the way, moves up one position into fourth ahead of Roberto Faria, who now has Javier Sagrera alongside as they go through Starkeys. And in fact, Bart Horston, look, trying to go around the outside, of course he is, of his own teammate Rhys Ushijima. So wherever you look here, good dicing for position. The early stages are, of course, the best chance to make ground up, and that is exactly what the drivers in the midfield are trying to do. So there goes Faria. He did lose out there to Sagrera, so Sagrera up into the top five. Now one car on the grass almost loses it coming out of Coppice Corner. Might have been Dexter Patterson. No, it wasn't. It was the car just behind him, actually, that got a bit sideways there. Either way, they all survived it just about, but it's all very congested as they drop down through the Fogsy S's for the first time and make their way down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Bryce Aaron there, the 23 car, trying to get up the inside line as they hit their brakes. There is Dexter Patterson, the 55. He's also on the inside line trying to make some progress. Right, into Goddard's come the leading five, well six actually, because Faria is still there and goes up the inside of Sagrera for fifth position, and then muscles Javier wide coming off the corner, and that was robust but fair, I'd say, for Roberto Faria. Now the high-tech GP teammates are all over each other, and Bart Horston nearly gets into the back of Rhys Ushijima. That would not have gone down well. Bart Horston is only 7th in the championship. It's all quite tight, though, from third on back. Third place, Alex Connor, is on 109 points, and then the next sort of 21 points take you down to the back end of the top 10 in the championship. So for Horston, he could do with the points, but of course Ushijima is second in the championship, so he arguably needs them more. And I don't think it would have gone down too well at all there if they'd have made contact through Redgate Corner. Side by side here then, this is Ayrton Simmons trying to get past Dexter Patterson whilst also trying to keep Sebastian Alvarez at bay in the third of the high-tech GP cars, the silver machines there. Whilst behind them, it's all getting very, very tasty, isn't it? Into the right-hander at the top of the hill. That was the 81 car, I think, wasn't it, of Max Maserati in the battle. Head into the chicane again then. Around the outside there is trying to go the 34 car. That's Tom Levin, who was the one that I saw wide at Coppice on lap one. That didn't work though, and so Bryce Aaron now gets up the inside of him into the hairpin. And then it's Maserati with whom Aaron had contact at Silverstone. And behind Jose Garfias there, and Rima Jafali getting her elbows out and forcing a way through as they come out of the Melbourne hairpin. Towards Goddard's they go then. Tom Levin defending. Zach O'Sullivan, though, is escaping at the head of the field. 1 second now to the good over Alex Connor second, Ushijima third, Horston fourth, Faria fifth, Sagrera sixth, ahead of Belinsky, Mansell, Patterson and Simmons to round out the top 10. So Ayrton Simmons has had a good start there, actually. 3 places gained already. There goes Mikael Grundtvig up the inside of Jose Garfias. That was for 16th place. So the battle not to be last, essentially, and they're still side by side through the Craner curves, and actually Garfias is going to hang on round the outside. Nicely driven that from Jose in the 99 car. The Elite Motorsport run machine, Elite making the jump into single-seat racing in Formula 3 this year, and doing pretty well, it has to be said. So running Javier Sagrera, of course, who really is running strongly this weekend. 6th position at the moment. Javier has 1 podium to his credit earlier on this season in a reverse grid race at Brands Hatch, but has been on the pace on merit this weekend and looking strong again here in 6th place in this one. Right, what can Ayrton Simmons do? He heads down into the Melbourne hairpin. His next target is Dexter Patterson, who I alluded to whilst running through the grid, was in a spot of trouble at Silverstone, got disqualified from the first 2 races and got into a bit of an altercation in the paddock, I believe, and hopefully will avoid any such controversy this weekend. But right now he's trying to avoid losing his 9th place to the round 1 winner, Ayrton Simmons, who's in the slipstream as they head into Redgate Corner. Even into Redgate, though, these cars have so much downforce, you don't do a huge amount of braking, so not that easy just to fling it up the inside. Your best places to pass, really, are going to be into the 2 hairpins, especially Melbourne. So Simmons needs to concentrate, really, on staying right on the gearbox, and Patterson through the rest of the lap and try to be close enough going into that braking zone at the end of the lap. There go the leaders. Now, Connor on the previous lap was quite a bit quicker, actually, than O'Sullivan, and Ushijima in third, even quicker there, because the number 13 car just set the fastest lap, a 25.807. So Rhys Ushijima coming on strong here. He's chasing after Alex Connor, who in turn is continuing to close on O'Sullivan. In the first sector, he was just over a tenth quicker. Second sector, nearly 2 tenths faster than the leader was Connor. And actually faster than anybody in the middle sector until Roman Belinsky, deeper in the field, managed to better his sector 2 time. On the inside there goes Ushijima. That was a brilliant late lunge up the inside at Melbourne, but now he's on the outside line for the final turn. This is going to be a tough move to complete. Connor has the preferred inside line. Ushijima also has a championship to think about, doesn't want to take too many risks, and that unfortunately has just robbed them of the impetus that they were carrying, reeling in the race leader. And actually the gap goes out now by a tenth between first and second, so I'm not sure if that was the wisest of decisions there for Ushijima. I can see what he was thinking. He wanted to be the man in second place that was doing the chasing after the leader, but by battling with Alex Connor, it does sort of allow O'Sullivan, doesn't it, to make a bit more of a break. Ushijima also being spurred on by the fact that his teammate Bart Horston in fourth place just stole the fastest lap away, 125.639. So the Hi-Tech GP cars really going strongly. This is, I'd say, the best season so far for Hi-Tech in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, with 2 regular podium contenders and their third driver, Sebastian Alvarez, coming on strong as well. Actually had a really good first race at Silverstone, I seem to recall, last time out. Was a little bit off the pace so far this weekend was Alvarez, but he's running 11th place actually in this one. So Hi-Tech definitely looking stronger the more experience they get, and these cars, well, they could be challenging for a championship this year, couldn't they, with Ushijima? And that of course is the other reason that Ushijima really wants to get this second place, because he can see the championship leader Zach O'Sullivan getting away again now at the front of the field in the sectors on this lap. Connor though is actually reeling him back in. Right, back into the old hairpin. Rima Jafali there with a front wing that is hanging on by a thread, and that certainly hasn't helped her downforce going into the old hairpin. She runs wide onto the grass, does well to save it actually, but there's obviously been some contact before that to dislodge the front wing, and I think she's going to have to pit to get that repaired, because the last thing you want is for that to get stuck underneath the front wheels and send you off the road. And in fact, yes, she has just pitted now, so Rima Jafali in to get the front wing sorted. They can replace that relatively quickly, but it will take her out of the battle, unfortunately, and it was a good battle she was having with Jose Garfias and Miguel Grundtvig. There's Roberto Faria then. Well, there was Roberto Faria, there is Rima Jafali, who, I seem to recall, has a decent grid position for the reversed grid race a little bit later on today, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more of Rima. Right now in the pit lane, and likely, you'd say, to lose a lap, maybe, depending on how quickly the Douglas Motorsport squad can get that front wing replaced. Out of the chicane then, car number 4 there is Roman Belinsky, as I said, making his debut in British Formula 3 this weekend. Great to have Roman Belinsky with us, and he has really impressed on his debut in the championship, running 7th at the moment, and finished yesterday, where was Belinsky in yesterday's race? 4th, so yeah, immediately on the pace. It'll be interesting to see what he can do for the reverse grid race later on as well. He's a really feisty racer, is Roman Belinsky. Crowd watches on then as the field moves into the second half of an interesting and intriguing race this, because Alex Connor, when he's being left alone by Rhys Ushijima, is quicker than the race leader, but he's constantly having to watch his mirrors because Rhys is applying the pressure, obviously, and looking to try and find a way through. Rima Jafali, I'm afraid, though, is going nowhere. Clearly, the damage too much. The way they're looking at that left front corner tells me that maybe there's a fear of some suspension damage, which would make sense. The car clearly has had contact at one point or another to dislodge the front wing. But yes, Alex Connor could do really with Bart Horston giving his teammate Rhys Ushijima a hard time, and I think that's what's about to happen, because Horston, with another fastest lap last time, a 25.2, is reeling in, or has reeled in, Ushijima, and that's just forcing Ushijima now maybe to watch his mirrors, so that might release Connor on this lap again. Connor pretty much matching, maybe fractionally quicker than O'Sullivan. It's through this last sector, isn't it, where Ushijima does seem good on the brakes into the Melbourne hairpin, but then keeps that momentum going on the exit of the corner as well. Takes a wide line there into Goddard, but he's got to be careful because Horston is less than a car length or so behind him. Across the line they go now. Let's see what the lap times are. 25.4 for the leader, 25.6 for Connor, so the last sector wasn't that good there for Connor. 25.6 for Ushijima, 25.47 for Horston. So Horston, again, fastest man on the track. Not quite a new fastest lap of the race, but he was quicker than the 3 drivers ahead of him. The trouble in Formula 3, though, is not catching, but passing, especially around a circuit like this one. Silverstone last time out was a bit different because you had longer straights, better opportunities for the slipstream, a wider circuit as well, so you could choose your lines a bit more in your quest to outfox maybe the car ahead. Bart Horston, though, we've seen, is not afraid to make a risky manoeuvre, often around the outside through corners that you just can't go around the outside of. But Bart Horston is becoming one of the most exciting drivers to watch in this championship, the young Aussie, and looking now for a podium maybe in this race. But to do it, he's got to take it from his teammate and championship contender Rhys Ushijima. Bart has had a podium, 3rd place in the opening race at Silverstone, but then faded a bit in race 2. Again, Ushijima goes for the late jink up the inside of Connor. He's definitely stronger than the Arden driver in the final sector, is Ushijima. And that is where the overtaking opportunities are. Again, he takes that wide line through Goddard's, inviting Horston to have a little look at the inside, but didn't make anything of it that time. Now, personal best lap that time for the race leader, Zach O'Sullivan, but still the best part of 0.2 slower than Alex Connor in second. So Connor, if only he could properly shake off the attentions of Ushijima, which at this part of the circuit he can look. The gap now between them is over half a second. But it's just that final sector, isn't it, where Connor perhaps he's getting too close to O'Sullivan and he's losing downforce. Of course, when you start running in that dirty air, in a slicks and wings single-seater such as these, that can, will definitely affect your speed through the high-speed corners of the middle part of the lap, and that means he's not really close enough then to attack into the final sector. Let's see, though, running out of time now as well. 3 laps to go at the end of this one. O'Sullivan in the first sector is slower again by 1/10 than Connor, who just did a purple first sector. So Alex Connor quicker than anybody in the first sector, and now he really has gapped Ushijima. So game on now for Alex Connor. He's built the gap over the 3rd place driver. He's within a couple of car lengths of the leading driver, but he's going to have to, if he's going to do something about O'Sullivan, you sense he's only going to have one chance to do it, because one failed attempt to overtake will just delay them both and allow the 3rd and 4th place cars to close back in again. Horston up the inside of Ushijima. Oh, there's almost contact between the 2 teammates through Goddard. There is! And Ushijima is out of the race with damaged left rear suspension. That was not good for High-Tech GP. Bart Horston and Rhys Ushijima coming to blows at Goddard's. It was a late lunge there from Horston up the inside. I think he's got damage as well, possibly, to the front suspension of his car. And that will not go down well with the team, because Ushijima is out of the race. He will score 0 points in this one, and neither of their cars now going to end up on the podium, because up into 3rd place has gone Roberto Faria as a result of that. And I think that is definitely something that in the team debrief after the race will be discussed at length, I would say. Well, drama then here in the 8th round of BRDC British Formula 3 Championship. The man second in the championship, Rhys Ushijima, who's had such a strong season this year. 2 race wins, another podium at Brands Hatch as well, and yesterday, in fact, with a 2nd place finish. Out of the race, whilst his title rival, Zach O'Sullivan, leads the way with a lap and a half to go now. 2.5 laps, I should say, to go. There is Horston. Well, he's back up to speed again now. His middle sector is okay, half a second off the times the leaders are doing. So maybe he's got away with it, or if there is a bit of damage, he's learning to drive around it. Up into the scene of the crime they go again now. And in typical Bart Horston fashion, he's already thinking about going up the inside of the car ahead of him there, which is Roman Belinsky. Now, here's the replay. I mean, he was alongside, but it was a late lunge, and then he just runs the car out wide. That seemed totally avoidable. Here it is again, look, he bangs wheels once with Ushijima, then he gets the left rear corner as well. But you'd have to say Horston could probably have held a tighter line there. I'd almost understand it if it wasn't his teammate, and you know, he's just trying to run the car on the outside to the edge of the road, but against your teammate, that's, yeah, not maybe Bart Horston's finest moment. Now, oddly, you'd have thought that incident would have given Alex Connor the breathing space that he needs to really start rattling Zach O'Sullivan, but the exact opposite's happened. O'Sullivan just did his personal best lap of the race, a 125.3, 3.5 tenths or so quicker than Alex Connor, so the gap back up to nearly a second now. Third place is Farrier, then the fight for fourth, so Horston still in the top 5 and looks, it has to be said, a bit quicker than the car ahead, and the car ahead is Javier Segura, who got a bit too much of the curb there through the chicane. And there goes O'Sullivan up the inside, locks up the brakes again. He's probably flat-spotted the tyres with his initial lock-up when he was up the inside of Ushijima, because it was quite a leery lunge that he made at this corner a couple of laps ago just to get up the inside of Ushijima, and then the contact was another matter. But yeah, a lively race Horston's had in this one. So across the line they go then, final lap begins. It is now over a second between the top 2, and then 3.4 seconds between Connor in second and Farrier third. So this is the fight now. Fourth place Segura, fifth Horston, and sixth, look, Roman Belinsky is really coming forward again nicely in this race now. Belinsky started 7th, so he's only up 1 place at the moment, but finished 4th yesterday, did the Arden driver. There he is, number 4. And actually Belinsky is now closer to Horston than Horston is to Segura. So it might not be so much getting 4th place that is the priority now for Horston, just holding on to 5th. Up through Coppice then, half a lap to go. And actually Christian Mansell's not far behind this group as well. I'm not convinced we're going to see a pass, but there's always the potential. Some scores to be settled here. Segura looking to try and really get his season on track this weekend. Horston trying to redeem himself for the contact with his teammate. Belinsky trying to make a strong impression on his debut. Christian Mansell as well he's 4th in the championship actually. A race winner at Brands Hatch was Christian, but since then hasn't really been troubling the podium places. This man has though. Zach O'Sullivan is about to come through to take his 3rd victory of the season and the 2nd of the weekend here at Donington Park. He wins round of 8 of the BRDC British Formula 3 Championships. Alex Connor 2nd, and Roberto Farrier in 3rd place gets his 3rd podium in the last 4 races. Segura hangs on to 4th, Horston 5th, with the fastest lap as well for what it's worth, with Belinsky, Mansell, Patterson, Simmons and Alvarez rounding out the top 10. Nice battle coming across the line here. That was Jose Garfias, Mikael Grundtvig and Max Marzarati in the fight not to be last, and it's Marzarati, I'm afraid, who loses out on that one, which is a shame because he started ahead of Grundtvig on the grid. So Zach O'Sullivan then has done today what Ushijima did at Silverstone. He's won the first 2 races of the weekend, and then of course he'll have the reverse grid race to contend with later on. But yeah, this is going to be a big weekend for O'Sullivan, I think, because last time at Silverstone, yes, Ushijima won the first 2 races, but O'Sullivan was 2nd in both of those races, so the damage that was done to O'Sullivan's points lead was minimal. Whereas this time they were 1-2 yesterday, but of course Ushijima, well, there he is, not taking the checkered flag out of the race, 0 points for the number 13 car. So that will give O'Sullivan now a decent lead over 2nd place driver. It's going to be 47 points now, the gap between the 2 of them. Right then, let's confirm the results of a very dramatic 8th round of the championship. Zach O'Sullivan gets his 3rd win of the year to extend his points margin. Alex Connor 2nd, Roberto Farrier in 3rd. Good results for the pair of them, with Javier Segura likewise in 4th place doing well. Martin Horston has a case to answer, I think, after the race for that contact with his teammate, but he salvaged 5th ahead of Roman Belinsky. Christian Mansell, Dexter Patterson, Ayrton Simmons and Sebastian Alvarez round out the top 10. Tom Leben was next ahead of American Bryce Aaron. Jose Garfias 13th, getting the better in the end of Mikael Grundtvig and Max Marzarati in a pretty tight battle to the flag. Rhys Ushijima was a notable retirement, so too Rima Jafali, who had a damaged front wing and possible damaged steering or suspension as well. Those 2 the only non-finishers, but for the championship, the Ushijima non-finish is important because of the top 4 drivers in the championship coming into that race, well, none of them had a DNF so far. Ushijima, though, breaks that trend with a non-finish in this 2nd race of the weekend. And I think I'm right in saying as well that because he was a non-finisher, he's not involved in the reversed grid either, so he will be at the back of that reversed grid rather than inheriting a front starting position. Right then, highlights, plenty of them from the 8th round of the British Formula 3 Championship. O'Sullivan from pole got a good start, and it was a pretty calm initial run into the first corner, but Alex Connor then did try to make a move on the outside of O'Sullivan. It didn't work though, and he slotted back into line before Rhys Ushijima got ahead of him. How Rhys wishes that he'd been able to find a way past Alex Connor in the early stages of the race. He was trying, so too were plenty of the drivers behind. That was Roman Belinsky up the inside of Dexter Patterson, making a nice move on the brakes into the Melbourne hairpin. And then there was an equally entertaining battle as Tom Levin tried to make up for a bit of a grassy moment on lap 1. Top 4 drivers started to make a break. Ushijima had a couple of goes at getting up the inside of Alex Connor down at the Melbourne hairpin. This was the closest he got, and the pair of them ran side by side up into Goddard's. The Arden driver, though, just about held on and then put in a string of strong laps to catch up to the race leader. Further back, Rima Jafali had contact. The front wing and front suspension was damaged, and off onto the grass she went. She pitted for a new nose, but unfortunately the team then told her to get out of the car. Her race was over. Rima was not pleased with the situation, as you'd imagine. She'd been having a good battle up until that point. Now, into the final part of the race, and the real talking point was the battle between the Hi-Tech GP teammates, which came to blows at the final corner. Bart Horston trying to get past Ushijima. Contact was made not once but twice, and with a very damaged left rear suspension, Ushijima was out of the race. Horston was trying his best to recover from that, but ended up finishing in 5th, while Zach O'Sullivan took his 3rd win of the year, his 2nd of the weekend, and builds up nearly a 50-point championship lead now. That race could prove to be very significant as we move into the second half of the season. Well, the fans here at Donington Park have been treated to, as I said, perhaps one of the most significant races of the season in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, but there is a long way to go still. The series will head to Spa-Francorchamps in 2 weeks, then Snetterton, Silverstone again, Alton Park and Donington Park, so we're not even halfway yet. Plenty of time for Zach O'Sullivan maybe to run into issues. Zach now has one more win than Ushijima, but he already had more podium finishes, because O'Sullivan actually has only been off the podium twice. Both of those times have been reversed grid races, so you can kind of forgive that, really. Ushijima has also failed to podium in both of the reverse grid races so far, but also missed out on the podium in the season opener at Brands, so that's kind of where the initial gap had come from. We'll wait and see whether or not Ushijima can rebound in the 3rd race of the weekend for the British Formula 3 Championship, coming up later on this afternoon. It's been a fantastic start to the day, though, a dramatic one, that's for sure. And we're looking forward to that 3rd race, the reverse grid thriller, later on this afternoon. Be sure to join us then. It's going to be another cracking race for the British Formula 3 Championship.